Thanks so much for tuning in to the Sustainable Brown Girl YouTube channel. This show exists to provide representation for women of color within the environmental space, to share their stories, and to inspire all to be more eco-friendly every day. I'm your host, Ariel Green. This is where you can see all of the full video podcast episodes. So be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. Also, go follow us on Instagram at Sustainable Brown Girl. Enjoy! Today's featured Sustainable Brown Girls are the women of Well Clothed, a nonprofit based in Brooklyn, New York, founded by three Black women and lifelong friends, Lita McGee and sisters Jenna and Marian Richardson, later joined by Maya Shelton, who is the Director of Partnership. With the mission to take the mystery out of donating, Well Clothed ensures that recipients receive high quality care packages that are curated specifically to meet their needs. Today, we're joined by Jenna, Lita, and Maya. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today.
Thank
you
for having us. This is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you. So let's just, kind of start at the beginning. You guys can talk, however you want to. Whoever wants to lead the conversation and hop in, do what you got to do. But tell us about how Well Cloth was created and like why you guys started it.
Okay, I'll jump in. I feel like I always tell our origin story, so
yeah. I was looking at Jenna like, this you.
Well, obviously, so you touched on this in the beginning. We're lifelong friends, and so organically, I was hanging out at Lita's house, and we were really thinking through. I believe she was cleaning out from her spring closet to her winter closet, or something like that, or vice versa. And coming from a fashion background, both her and her mother had a surplus of clothing, and so we were sitting there. She always gives some to her friends, and then she just has this pile. And we're like, well, what are you going to do with this? Where does this go? And then she's like, I'm going to just take it over to Goodwill. And then we were like, okay, but where does that go? How come the things that you give away for free are now being charged to someone else? So we're sitting here, and I was coming from a nonprofit background and just being really like community focused. We tried to figure out, okay, is there just one thing we can do? Like, what's the smallest thing we can do to kind of mitigate this problem? Because if we're having it, it's something everybody else has, right? She has a ton of fashion friends, and we just have friends that buy clothes. We have a bunch of people. So where is all of this surplus going, and why do people then have to pay for it again when someone had given it away for free? So the idea was like simple. Let's just host one event, right? Like it's like summer of 2016. We're like, let's just hold one. Yeah, let's just hold one event. Let's get all of our friends, let's get all of their clothing, and invite some people from partner organizations that I've worked with through nonprofits or just that we've heard of, and see if they'll come out, right? Like, see if this is actually a thing that is necessary, that's needed. And we decided to make it like a pseudo luxury experience. So it was a bagging brunch experience. We had mimosas because brunch is a thing.
Same about a mimosa.
Yeah, right. I don't know if brunch. I'm on Atlanta TikTok, so I know brunch is a thing in Atlanta.
Oh yeah,
like, definitely brunch in Brooklyn. So we're like, let's put the best of both worlds together. Let's make sure that everybody's having an experience and not just feeling like they're coming to pull things out of a hat or pull things out of a trash.
Yeah, like trash bags and stuff.
So I think that first time we saw about 150 people came through and like cleared us out. We saw multi-generations. We've seen kids shop for their parents. We've seen parents shop for the whole family. And we were like, okay, we're on to something. And it kind of just grew from there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I think it's like, it's also, sorry to cut you off, but just at the same time this was happening in my personal life with Jenna, at the time I was working in merchandising, and I was just in the closets all the time, and I was just like, this is collecting dust. Like, when you're working in these fashion closets all the time and you see, like, of course there's sample sales and things like that, but that's more of an internal thing. But then the amount of surplus that's still left behind is just ridiculous. So as this was happening in my own personal life of cleaning out my closet, I'm like, what are we doing with this stuff? Like it's just sitting here. We're not doing anything. And I was just, and at the same time, we were also doing volunteering at church. So it was just all happening at the same time, and it just made sense. And then it kind of put that battery in my back at work, because then I would see people just always like toss something aside, or like have like a basket that they were like gonna donate, and then I'm like, but where is it really going? And then it kind of just all worked out how it was supposed to. And ever since then we kind of just taken off, so we've been pretty blessed in that respect.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I got involved once the nonprofit was already established, and at the time I was living in the South. So I moved back in 2019. And one thing that we always noticed growing up, especially if you grow up in New York, you see so many people in need. You really have a good sense of like the have and the have nots. There's a lot of established people here, there's a lot of wealth here, but there's also a lot of people on the streets. And there's a lot of people without. You see people walking around without shoes. You see people sleeping on the street, like literally on the sidewalk. And so we see the need right in front of us every single day, and we have. So even if we don't have, we know somebody who does. So we definitely wanted to find a way to connect the two. And then one thing that we discovered along the way, that it's not always the people that are sleeping on the street that's in need, but it's a lot of the people that look like
Mhm.
us as well.
Hmm. Yes, exactly. Wow. I love that saw a need in your own lives, like in your personal lives, and then also kind of like made it a community-based thing too. Like that's
Mhm.
amazing. So did you say that there was a charge for that bag and brunch, or was it, oh, it was free?
Yeah.
every
Wow.
every pop-up
So
shop we do is free.
so we
Yeah.
give back in two ways. We have the free pop-up shops, which happen seasonally usually. And that when we set up basically a store, a free store, and we invite clients as well as community, as well as people that we believe are in the market to shop for free. And then we also have personalized care packages. And that's when our partner organizations and clients will reach out to us. We have our website, they'll fill out a form. If the family or an individual is in need, their sizes, what they need, what
Their
their style
pronoun.
requests are, their pronouns,
Mm.
all of that on the
Mhm.
form. And then we receive the form, and we go into our inventory and we create packages and care packages specifically tailored to that client, and then them or their representative will come pick those up.
But I think
Wow.
to your like original question, I think since the inception, it's always been really important to us that it was free, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
That's the whole point, right? You can go to Goodwill and you can buy a shirt. I mean, not to bash Goodwill. Goodwill does good work, but like, it's always been the idea that if I'm giving it away, I don't need to be profitable on it because I was giving it anyway. So how do you just pay
Yes.
it forward without any expectations of getting anything back? And that's how all of our events have run since.
I see. Yeah, that makes total sense. And I love too that you come to it from the perspective like, okay, so when I give this stuff to Goodwill, like, then what? Because I'm sure a lot of us know that not everything that we give to Goodwill is actually put on the shelves and sold.
Absolutely.
And
Mhm.
so, there's like a huge, big dumping grounds in like Africa. And I know Ghana has that big marketplace where they get millions of tons of clothes like every year. And it's like, well, what do you do with that? But you guys are doing something to, try to mitigate that. So that's amazing.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to believe that every piece of clothing that we find a home for, of course, stays with that home. But we really
Yeah.
do encourage people, like, hey, if we make you a care package and we get some things wrong, like it's it's one thing to shop for somebody, but it's another thing to shop for somebody you've never met, right? Or you're
Yeah.
never going to see. So where you might get some things wrong, please give that to someone else, or
Right.
find a way to give it back to us, right? Like we don't just want to send clothes into the ether and then it now finds its way into another landfill. Like,
Right.
let's just all get into the way of paying it forward because I don't believe that just because you're a person in need, you can't help another person in need. Right.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I saw on your Instagram that you guys also are like you helped some people who were residents of a building that like caught on fire.
Mhm.
So
Jackson
you get,
Heights.
Yeah,
yeah.
Jackson Heights.
Who
Um,
wants?
oh,
Yeah, you can. Who wants to take this one?
okay. So we are always, I mean, of course, we always watch, the news and we're always being informed of things like that. But the Jackson Heights partnership, we've done two with them at this point. Well, the first one was when it actually happened. And how many residents? There was like 95 families, and
Mhm.
95 families in one building is almost like I can't even imagine the same like amount of people because it's like it could
Well,
be
say
easily
what
four
happened.
people. Hmm?
Say what happened. You just went into it.
Oh, no, I'm just talking
No,
about the
like what
families, but then what happened was we actually partnered with, Loved Ones Food Pantry, and they were working with the fire that burned down, and we actually put together, like, a free pop-up shop for them as well because they were all living in hotels after the fire had, burned down, so it was kind of a perfect opportunity for us. We had, like, it wasn't an emergency fun, but we had like a donation drive for all of them, and then everything we had between our office and the drive we brought to them and just let them shop for free, and like all their families. And then Loved Ones Food Pantry had like a food truck, so it's still a very a great experience, and also doing the same that we normally do with our pop-up shops and allowing people to shop for free and just giving them everything that they need whenever they need it. And we just recently did another one with the families because they're still displaced, so it's still a
Wow.
lot. Like a year or so
like
later they're still in the
the
same situation.
entire building burned down.
Wow.
So yeah, it was definitely an emotional experience.
Yeah, I
We also
bet.
had another opportunity to do the one for Triborough. So we had, unfortunately, so like in my other life, I worked for a real estate development corporation, and they had a fire as well. And they were like, "Hey, Jenna, we know that you and your girls run this organization. What's up? Can you guys help?" And so in what's 5 days, I think it was, we
Hmm.
we we packed our office with things that were donated. So we didn't do clothes that time, but we got dishes donated, we got knife sets donated, shopping carts, gift
I
cards.
swear.
Like the more so, yeah, like okay, we could
First
always
stuff.
get clothes, right? But like you lost everything,
Right.
unfortunately. So between I was just amazed that in 5 days that call for help really like went out. This stuff was delivered and picked up and given out within that first week.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I mean, that's what people. I think that's what they think about when they think about well clothes. It's like, who do I go to in a clutch, right? Who's going to be able to provide real time and real help, not just like thoughts and prayers, but like
Yeah.
thoughts, prayers, and
Right.
action, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like shout out our community for that because
For
honestly,
sure.
it's not us. Like we are just the connector of it, but we
Hmm.
literally blast our socials, we blast our resources. We really reach out to community and we'll say, "Hey, we have this family, we have this fire, we have this building, this is what happened to these people. This is what we're asking for." And people will show up and show out every single time. And then we also send it to pages that we know have large followings, and they'll repost it, and it kind of just spreads. The word just spreads every single time, and every single time people show up with bags to our office. And it's amazing to see how community really works once we
Hmm.
put the blast out.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, how you get the word out. But yeah, that's amazing that, people really like to help because where I live, last year, it's been about a year now, there was a tornado that it was like an E4 tornado that went through and like, demolished so many homes and a few businesses. And
Wow.
it's incredible to see how a community can come together after a disaster and
Right.
just really, try to help. So yeah, I
Yeah.
love that you guys give that opportunity to people to, be able to help others.
Yeah.
Um, with that being said, what are some tips for people who may want to start a similar program in their city?
Do it. Like, I mean, truthfully, like it was honestly because I think we look at the end result and think about how hard it is to do what they're now doing. But the truth of the matter is, every great thing or every even good thing just started, right? You don't have to
Right.
have all the pieces to get up and go. if you have a phone, if you have a space and you got some friends, even if you don't have friends, if you live in a community,
Right.
people have stuff. And I think there is an innate human thing about looking at someone in need and saying, a part of you is saying that could be me. So I need to do what I need to pay it forward. Right. So
Mhm.
you can just put out the call to action and allow people to show up, right? Like create a space for people to be them best selves or feel the best about themselves, and people will do that. So, like, if someone is thinking, this is a dope idea, I really want to start this in Kansas, like, I don't know if Well Clothes is coming to Kansas anytime soon. So, like, you might as well get a space, look for people who have already been leaning on their community and just say,
Mhm.
I have this idea. I just need a little bit of support and watch the magic flow. Like people
Yeah.
love to help other people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well
I
Clothes
think
started over a simple Facebook post. It was
Hmm.
like, hey, Jenna and I are doing this thing. Like, what's up? Like, who's gonna donate? And everyone was like, oh, I have stuff. I have stuff. I have stuff. And the next thing you know, we're like, whoa, everybody has a lot of stuff.
yeah, that first event, I remember that first event my mom went to, and she was like, they had so much stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, one thing that I would say as a tip for people starting in other states, um, watching the progression of well clothed, I think it's very important to have a space for
Mhm.
the items because we started with a little chest in Brooklyn Commons,
Oh
and then
yeah,
it went to a
wow.
storage unit that was kind of far out, and just transporting the stuff from the storage unit was difficult. And then we went to a smaller office, and now we're in a bigger office. So, but like to maybe avoid that type of heartache and headache and sweat, if you want to start this idea in another state, make sure that you have a space to hold because people always are cleaning out their closets. And if you say, I'm
Mhm.
taking it, they're going to give it to you because they're trying to get it out of their house. So I
Right.
would definitely suggest that if you don't have an extra room in your house, if you have a storage unit or if you have like something that a place to hold it, because that is definitely something that you need, and you also need a way to transport it. That's something that we're
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
finding a way to do. So
Yeah.
transportation and space is what you'll need.
Our apartments were looking like mini
Crazy.
storage units for a very long time.
Wow.
I guess this is
Yeah.
the correct time to give a huge shout out to our number one supporter, Brooklyn Commons. I know it doesn't mean a lot down in Atlanta, but Brooklyn Commons is it's a Brooklyn co-working / event space in the Flatbush area. They also have one in Bushwick, and literally have held us down since day one. We
Yeah.
kind of went to them and pitched this idea, and like Maya said, they had this little storage crate. We don't know why they had it. It was nothing in there, and they were just like,
There's
"Yeah, use
nothing in it.
and they were like, sure, you can use this space. And that tiny space is now grown into like a 6-person office. They let us use their event space for all of our events. They donate that space to us. They donate their Instagram when we have things. They also blast us on their what are they called? Like newsletters and stuff like that. They come out
Mhm.
and volunteer. They stay late with us when we got to set up. Like they're an
They are,
extension of our
yeah,
community.
for
They
real.
are well clothed.
Yeah,
They are
we're
well
its
Oh,
co-founder basically.
Yes. That's
So we have to
amazing.
give love where love is due for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, those partnerships are so important.
Mhm.
So when you guys do you take donations like on an ongoing basis, or is it something that you just like call for a couple times a month or a couple times a year?
Both.
but yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's dependent. I would say like we have our drives so for pop-up wise, we have our free pop-up shops every quarter. And then within that, of course, like seasons change, people clean out their closets. So that just made sense to do that. But within that, sometimes we do need other items. Like we're having a toiletry drive this Sunday because we realize we have so much clothing, but we're missing a lot of the toiletry aspect for that. So we are going to do drive for that. Then, of course, within, situations, people donate items. But then a lot of the times it's just like, hey guys, I have some stuff. Are you taking anything? And it's honestly just dependent on our need at the moment
Mhm.
because there are times where we are full blown into winter and people are like, oh, I have all this spring stuff. And we're like, if you can, hold on to it until it's time for us to like switch out the closet or have the next pop up or things like that, because it the whole point of well clothes to get stuff in and to get it out. And if we're getting stuff, it's just sitting there and it's not benefiting anyone. So the whole point is to make sure we have a quick turnaround. So we do take stuff yearly and, every month and things like that. But what we take is just dependent on the need at the time.
Okay, yeah.
I think the other part that's important to note is that we will do a call to donate if we have a
Right.
request that we cannot fulfill.
Right.
So sometimes we'll definitely get requests. We work with some of the most interesting organizations,
Yeah.
and like I know Lita and Maya have the extensive list, but we've worked with people reentering society. We do that a lot. I think we all are in agreement that the coolest organization, all dope. If you all are listening to this, you all do amazing work.
We
But
love you
there's
all.
one that works with the transgendered immigrant community, which I
Yeah.
just find to be incredible because it's
That
such a
were
new
just released
community.
from ICE.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Wow.
So I
Yeah.
think what we get to do is super dope because we're the first organization that is providing them with clothing that affirms their gender. And
Yeah.
so
Mm.
sometimes you're helping someone figure out
Who
what
they are.
their style is in their new life. And it's like, oh, this is big. Like this is a big thing. This may be your first, pair of
Yeah.
boxers. Or this may be your first, set of heels. Like, who do you want to be? So
Yeah.
Right.
It was like I remember the first time that like that happened, we were like, wait, guys, this I have a question. And then
Yeah.
that's when we realized we're like, I have a question. And I think that's also why we decided to add pronoun to our request
Yeah,
donation,
it
like our
is. It is why.
donation request form, because we were like, oh my God, that's a whole demographic. I think as cisgendered women, we didn't even think about at that particular
Right.
moment in time. And then now that we're in that space, we're like, wait, this is something. And they reached out to us and we were like, we will love to help you. And ever since then, they're probably just we work with them so much now, and it's such a fulfilling feeling. Like, Jenna mentioned, like helping affirm someone's new life, and then knowing you're part of that story is just
Mhm.
such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. So I was assuming before that you guys only took women's clothes. So I guess you take all genders
the
and
whole
Children,
gamut.
kids and
Everything.
women,
zero
yeah,
zero to 90. I
everything.
mean, we have like
Yeah.
infant, we have preemie clothes all the way up to
Yeah.
like, I mean, fashion has no age, but definitely
Yeah.
something you can see a great grandmother in. Like we have the full gamut,
Right.
you know,
And we
and
Right.
just
fashion as
recently
well.
partnered with a foster care, so that brought in
Hmm.
a lot of the children. Even though we were already taking children's clothing before, one of our new partners is a foster care. So um,
Yeah. I think that was eye opening for us too, because a lot of the like organizations we were working with were like young mother shelters, or of course there was like Brooklyn Defender Services and things like that, which was mostly dealing with people who are like 20 years old plus. And then
mhm.
once we started working with the foster care, and they came to our last pop up, and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many like teenagers here. I was so like, wow, okay, because
yeah.
that was our first time really working with that age group. And I think that is something, every day that we do well clothed, I learn something new. For
Yeah.
instance, how we were working with, now we're working with the trans community, and then now understanding this the age difference with, the teenage group, because a lot of times you think about it, you think little kid, baby, parent. We
Mhm.
always seem to miss out on those development years of a child. So I think that now I'm consciously asking people like, okay, do you have a son that's 14, a daughter who's like 15? So we make sure we have all that stuff too for them as well. Because yes, we are going to have someone 90-year-old who wants to wear something, but then of course you have the baby, but then there's the entire family that we should be,
Yeah.
worried about as well.
Mhm.
Yes, definitely. Wow. I love that you guys work with so many different, community-based organizations and are helping so many people. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
try.
Yeah. um, and I saw too that you guys have sponsors for some of your events, like for example, like Clean Cult sponsored. I love
Mhm,
Clean Cult.
mhm.
So How do you get those sponsorships?
Yeah.
Whew,
Wow.
but
Lita is our head of marketing, and I'm over partnerships. And so a lot of them, to be honest, some of them come to us, but a lot of it is us literally just sitting down brainstorming about a need. So we look
yeah,
at it in two ways. We look at a need of who is in need, like who do we want to partner with organization wise of who's in need, and then we also then look at it as what do we need, like what are we
yeah,
always getting requests for, what are we
yeah,
always needing that we don't have and have to reach back out for? So, household products and stuff, and cleaning products, um, socks, toiletries, things like that, you cannot really repurpose. Like, you can't really give a used underwear. You can't really give
And
used
people do. Don't get me
people.
wrong. They
I
definitely
believe
yeah.
it.
do.
We have gotten the used
We've
stuff
got stuff.
donated to us, but we cannot give it back out. We're not going to
Right.
do that. So that's when we look at partners, and we basically just reach out to these organizations and these companies, and also reach on to our networks and our
Yeah.
relations.
So
So
I was
these.
gonna say,
Mhm.
sorry, Maya. I was just gonna jump in and say, like, I have to give a huge shout out to like my fashion family, because a lot of the like Clean Coal, it was a great, like, a really close friend of mine who actually was working at Clean Coal. She was just like, "Oh my God, we're so down. What you guys are doing is amazing. Like, absolutely, we will help out." I've had friends who have worked at shoe companies who say like, "We would love to help." I've had my mom, like I mentioned, my mom's some of her friends work in fashion as well. So we've had coat companies donate who want to be a part of things. So I really do have to give a shout out to, of course, like, there's always like on the ground boots running with like emailing all these people. But I really do have to give, my props to all my fashion fam who really do help out with a lot of this stuff, because even though we all work in fashion, we all have the same mindset of like, we have to do better. So it does help me a lot, and it fulfills me enough to know that even though I'm in the industry, that obviously we do a lot of, there's a lot of stuff happening there, but there are a lot of people who want to help and do better. So I have to give a lot of my partnerships to, give them props to like my friends out there who really like help out with us and believe in our mission too.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. Love it. All right. So tell us what you guys have coming up and any future plans that you have for Well Clothed.
All right, I'll jump in. No
I was
problem.
like,
So I think Well Club is really hitting a stride that that we're embracing. I think it's important to note that this is a passion project at this moment, and so all of us do work other jobs. So like while we're growing this thing, we're also maintaining our lives. But we are outfitting our office to make it more of a space where people can come and actually shop. I think that's the next thing that we're really excited about, is creating this space where our partners and our partner organizations, clientele, can come in and pick out the things that they want, and then get that true boutique experience.
Mhm.
And not have to really wait for a quarterly event. That's one thing that we got working on. We have this really exciting event coming up with Warner Music Group. I'm going to hand that over to Lita and Maya, because they're really running this
I'm
show.
so excited.
Before we talk about that, we do have a free pop-up coming up on the 20th, which is
Yeah,
our core. We have another free pop-up shop that's kind of ending the winter
the
clothes. all of
season.
all of the winter season is going to be going into that. Um but yeah, we have a huge event coming up with Warner Music Group, Water Music Experience, I'm sorry.
Experience.
Um how that partnership kind of developed was they just donated a bunch of merch to us for us to give back to the community, and then we ended up growing that relationship and said, how can we do this in a bigger, better way? So we're creating a fundraising event. We were partnering with Warner, and we are reaching out to our social media influencer community, and I'll let Lita go from there.
So here we are. So this is kind of the opportunity, because I work in fashion. I have worked with a lot of influencers. Like, I do understand what happens in like the surplus you end up getting because so many brands are sending stuff to you and things like that. And it was kind of the perfect opportunity to really reach out to them and say like, okay, here's a, and it is a fundraiser for us, but it directly goes back into the community to making sure that we can run Well Clothed in the best way that we can. So just really making this an elevated, one of our elevated versions of like a pop-up and having, it being open to the public, which is actually our first thing ever, because normally we open it to the public, meaning our organization, so like it's opening up to everyone, but now it's open to the public to come shop all of these items, which is really cool. So this is also like a new experience for us as well. But I'm pretty excited. We have like a really dope space. Like I mentioned, Mikasa in Lower East Side is partnering with us as well as, Warner Music Experience, and it's gonna be pretty dope. So I'm really excited to, see what happens. And we have Luna Rosa, who's gonna be the DJ, and I'm really excited to see what what the influencers are like willing to, help out and participate. I think it's gonna be great, especially when we're trying to push forward the sustainable aspect of what we do. I think an influencer in this case is a great vessel because you are a person of influence and you have an audience. So if you have the opportunity to speak on certain things that can help the environment, like why not do it and also shop at the same time? So I think it should be a
Yes.
really great event.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's
So,
called thrifting.
No, thoughtful thrift.
thoughtful
It's
thrift.
called
Love
thoughtful
it.
thrift,
And
and
I
it's on
think
May
for
1st.
our
Yeah.
not our influencers, our social media audience, I think they'll be interested to hear that we're also soft launching this thing called like a cause closet, because we have so many dope donations, right? Like we get crazy donations, we get some really really cool stuff from really really cool people that could really help us continue to run, right? And so what we've got this concept from a few different people who have um I forget her Instagram name. It's vintage something. Somebody could look it up really quick. But
Oh.
she did a sale basically on her Instagram, and then of all of her thrifted items, and then donated the proceeds to us. And so we're kind of going to piggyback off of that, and some of our higher priced items that get donated to us will be able to put up for basically auction via Instagram. And if someone's interested, that money raised goes right back into operating costs. That will continue to allow us to host these large events. Put on another bagging brunch with mimosas and talent and food and like serve the
Mhm.
good and need community. Right? We want to do everything out the goodness of our heart, but unfortunately, that heart does not pay the bills. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're launching together.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So is the thoughtful thrift event free of charge?
It's free to come. It is not
Yeah.
free to shop.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to have three different size bags that you'll purchase, and then you fill your bag with as much as you can.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
Still
Nice. Okay.
taking, yeah, because that's still taking the aspect of our free pop-up shops, because with our pop-up shops you get a bag and you fill it up with as much as you can.
Right.
So this time, because it's open to the community, it's set up slightly different, but it's still the same essence of it.
Yeah.
I see. That's amazing. So for someone who lives in Atlanta like me, is it possible like for me to donate things to you? Like could I ship you guys stuff or is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Absolutely.
definitely
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
encourage people, if you are not in the NYC area, you can always ship to our office. Just DM us first or reach out to us first via our email or DM, because we like Lita said, we always take based upon our space that we have and our need that we have. So we first just make sure that we're accepting, at that time. But yeah, you can always donate from afar.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
I think I just want to put this I guess this bit of information out there because it is a Sustainable Brown Girl podcast. I just want to touch
Mhm.
on how many pounds of clothing we actually get each
Mm.
year, because I think that's
Yes.
also a really interesting part of the work that's done, because we all shop, right? And Lita and I were talking about this earlier. Like the onus of being sustainable is on the consumer, and
Mhm.
like that's a huge problem in of itself. We need to change
Right.
that narrative. But with the cost of, I'm trying to move my computer, with the cost of of high end clothing or sustainable clothing being sustainably made clothing being difficult for a lot of people to, aspirational pricing, some may call it. Those of us who want to still look good may have to go the fast fashion route. And so we understand that. And a lot of our friends kind of fit in that category. And so when we take that sort of stuff, even though it's going somewhere else, I think it's important to note that each year, I think we see about what, like 6,000 pounds of clothing.
Yeah, like 6,000, maybe a
Wow.
little bit more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel
we
like we
help
have
women like
6,000 pounds in our office right now.
Probably
yeah,
so. Yeah. And
honestly.
this last winter season, I think we rehomed or repurposed over 300 coats.
Mhm.
This
Wow.
is that's a huge thing. It needs
624 coats, Shanti.
624. Yeah, 624 coats plus those pounds, and then it was like the 7,000 pounds of clothing, and then I think we helped at least close to how many people now? Like at least six. That
about
was like
about
I
500
know it's a
to
lot.
600 people last
yeah,
year.
and then we like
It's
worked all throughout the pandemic too, so like that never stopped as well.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
I just think we're not to boast, right? Not to just say like we're out here doing all of this, but just think that we're an organization of four people who's getting this done. Imagine what the need is, right? If we are
Mhm.
moving this amount of clothing, this amount of stuff and answering to this need, that's only a fraction of what is necessary, even in our borough, let alone the
Right.
city. We function within Flatbush, but there's so many areas in Brooklyn where something like this is necessary and where they can't necessarily get to us because it's easy to get to us to get the clothes, but then you got to get it home, right? Like
Okay.
sometimes
Right.
that's not feasible for people. So we are trying to find different ways. We've done pop ups in other in need communities. We've hauled clothes all over Brooklyn to meet people where they're at, and we'll continue to
Mhm.
do that. But like, well, clothes shouldn't be the only ones, right? Like, if anybody's listening
Right.
to this and thinking that, oh, this is a dope idea, but I don't want to do it because somebody else is already doing it. It's like that bread aisle analogy, right? Like,
Mhm.
there's so many types of bread. Get out there and do
Mhm.
what you want, do what you need to do, and especially when
Right.
it's something for the good. Like if you see a model like this and you think it's going to work in your community, just know that the need is there, right? Like
Mhm.
whether you're doing it because you want to save things from a landfill or you're doing it because you really want to provide clothing for somebody, whatever your reason is, it doesn't matter. It has an
Yeah,
impact on both sides. So I just wanted to,
it's such a need.
yeah,
Yeah.
just wanted to
Yes.
share that.
Yes, thank you so much. No, that's so important to talk about your impact. And no, it's not boasting at all. Like you guys are doing amazing work that are helping so many people. So well done and definitely keep it up. And again, like you said, if anyone else wants to do something similar in their communities, like you said, there's definitely a need and a way to do it. So
Yeah.
obviously, you guys are doing great.
Absolutely. Thank you. I don't know if we're closing out, but I have to shout out our last co-founder and our team
Yes.
member, Marion Richardson, my sister, also their sister right now. We've been friends for 30 plus years, but unfortunately she
Yeah.
couldn't join us this afternoon. But Marion's also been, really part of this backbone of this
Yeah.
organization and making and pushing us to where we are now, and I think she's going to be a huge part of getting us to the next phase. And I think we're really excited for what's to come. Um, you
Yeah.
know, Talking to more people, building some more spaces, building some more impact. But I just, we don't work alone. We don't work in silos or anything like that. So even
Yeah.
though she's not with us in this moment, she's with us. I also said that like she's dead. She's not dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. She's with us in spirit.
Yeah,
Real
no, she's
quick.
with me. That's
I
all.
was like, was just texting her. I'm so confused.
Yeah, no, she's around.
Yeah.
Yes, love it. All right. Well, yes, thank you guys so much for coming on. It's been such a pleasure talking with you. And the
Yay.
last question I always like to ask our guests is what does being a sustainable brown girl mean to you? Or black girl, sustainable brown or black girl?
I'm brown. Um, I
What?
just thought about it because I'm like, I am brown. Um, I'll answer first. I think to me, I feel like as Black women, especially coming up in America, we've always had to make do, reuse, and repurpose like just naturally, I've watched the women that have raised me do it and make something out of nothing and make it look good too. And
Mhm.
so I think it's just kind of inbred in our DNA to make things shake, to spread and stretch things, and to make it work for us and our families, and to look out for our community, because
Mhm.
ultimately all we got. So I think it means for us to, now that we have more than just a little bit, to make sure that we keep it going, to make sure that we take care of our earth and our family the way that we would take care of ourselves, and to make sure that we are passing that torch for those coming up under us and coming up after us, so that we have a earth and a place to live that is something you want to live in, something that you want to be around for a long time, and take care of it like you would take care of your kids.
Yes, well said. Love it.
Yeah, that was kind of great. I'm like, well, how did I follow that? I mean, just to like, piggyback off what Maya said, but in a mental space, because I feel like, when we speak about sustainability, we always speak about, you know, the earth, and which is a huge factor, but I think we have to also be sustainable with ourselves and make sure that we are in a great mental space and being unapologetically yourself and being okay. And
Right.
then making sure when you are in a spot or in a space when you're spreading yourself too thin, you give yourself your flowers and you allow yourself that space to really come back and connect with yourself and then the earth and go out in nature. But then, just making sure you can always stay connected, because we can stretch ourselves and, make something out of nothing, but you won't have anything if you are not there yourself. So I think, you know, with all of that and taking care of our outer home, whether it be the earth or, how we look physically, you always have to take care of your inner home. And I think that is so important as well, on top of like, making sure we separate cardboard and plastic, which is a very big deal.
Right. Yeah, you definitely got to take care of yourself.
I mean, I think for me, I think I'm a sustainably soft woman or a soft sustainable woman. I think the other part of sustainability is doing what you can, right? Like
Yep.
there's a part of this that isn't our fault. It is not the individual's responsibility. I look in my kitchen. A lot of that stuff is not recyclable or whatever. Doing what you can, but also providing space and grace to understand that this is a bigger conversation that is not held not just by individuals, but especially not by Black women who are inherently sustainable. The Black community is inherently sustainable. The history of sustainability starts with Black communities and Brown
Come on.
communities, and so it is not on us to fix the problems of the not just our nation but of the world, and put everybody on our backs and said, "All right, let's go." Like that's not our onus anymore. Like Black women have done it. Black women have talked about it. We have, educated people as far as they want to be educated. And now I think it's time for some grace and doing what we can and making sure that
Mhm.
we provide spaces for people to learn and do what they want. Join the paddle if you want to, but yeah, also understanding that just because you don't have reusable paper towels doesn't make you not a sustainable person. I think it's balance at this point. At least in my life, it's balance. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
Yeah.
continue to fault myself and feel terrible that I have Tupperware and not, a metal thing for lunch. I'm trying,
Mhm.
but like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we can only do what we can do. And that's what I
Mhm.
always say. Like, it's a journey, it's not a destination. And, just do what you can. And all of you ladies have exemplified that you are doing a major part in helping your communities to have better lives and to also keep clothes and toiletries and all of that stuff out of landfill.
Yeah.
So, yes, you guys are all doing amazing work
Thank
and
you.
much appreciated.
Thank
So,
you.
You.
Thank
thanks
you.
This is
again for
lovely. Thank you so much
joining.
for
Yeah.
having us.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank you
having us. We really
for
appreciate it.
I guess I'm gonna
Yeah.
shout
And
out our socials real quick before we
yes, exactly. Please do.
Lita hit it. You got the whole rundown.
Okay. Well, at well clothed. Inc. So WELLCLOTHD Inc. And then, of course, from there you can visit, our website. We're blessed to be had an art like a highlight in the Cut magazine, so you can always find like that article there. And of course, our Amazon wish list to help us build out our office. It takes a village, y'all. And then, of course, monetary donations as well. So like Jenna said, like the heart can't pay the bills. So that's also a huge thing as well. But yeah, definitely please check us out and follow us on social, check out our website. And of course, make sure when you do follow, you just pay attention to anything that, any events that we may have, any drives coming up and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and if anybody's looking for a really easy way to give, we're also on Amazon Smile. It takes no effort on your part. It's not your money going to us. Every time you shop on Amazon Smile, which is the same platform, and you put Well Clothed as your organization, we get a portion of whatever you purchased. So none of your money comes to us. Amazon just is doing this thing, and so I think it's like 2% of each purchase, but it really does add up. So if anybody's looking for a pain-free way to give, we're definitely listed on there.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's super easy too. So
Yeah,
all
and
of
you
those.
can also give by Venmo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put all that in the show notes.
Okay.
Yes, and also I will be sharing like anything that you guys have going on to our stories on Instagram. So yeah, so follow them
Yay.
on Instagram, and
Thank
we'll
you.
also keep up with what you guys are doing. But yes,
Awesome.
once again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Don't leave just yet. Click here to hear from another Sustainable Brown Girl, or click here to watch the full playlist from this season.